Drafting the Magic features the thoughts and opinions expressed by Christian Ilton, Eric Pesolano, and today's guest, and do not in any way reflect the views or opinions of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries.
You know, Eric, coming off of a 3-game or episode streak, I am feeling good, and I'll tell you, after last night, I think the world needs a little bit of feel good, and that is what we are here to do on Drafting the Magic.
You know, that's the idea, and at least one of us is feeling good. I'll put that disclaimer out there. I apologize for the sound of my voice. Been a little under the weather for the last week, hoping to get over this. Don't worry, it's nothing out of the ordinary. This is normal for me. So glad we're still able to do the show though and pull this off. I'm excited for today's topic. I think it's very appropriate, you know, given the show coming back here this fall. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, for a moment. But I got to find a way to get back on the board because this is ridiculous. I can't be losing 3 in a row.
What's it like? Doesn't it hurt? It feels like it hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad. Well, you kind of teased it at the, you know, we're going to be talking about the show that's returned this fall already now, at least episode 1 has, and there's a lot more coming on. What is the official topic, Eric?
Well, we're going to a galaxy far, far away. We're going to talk about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge experiences. I brought this up to you, and our first thought was, have we experienced enough? Which is funny because that seems to be a common denominator between the two of us every episode nowadays. But it was, are there even enough experiences in the land itself to be able to qualify? And after we talked about it, there actually are. So we're both going to be able to pick 5 things. It's just going to be a matter of, are we going to be able to get everything we want? And I'm going to go on a limb and guess no. We're going to have to make a lot of adjustments throughout today's draft.
Well, yeah, and I'll say I think the rule that you kind of developed, but I guess we kind of worked on it together because we were talking about what we would do. And your rule of you've got to be able to cover all the big things, right? There's got to be an attraction, there's got to be food, and there's got to be merchandise on this list. I thought that was a good rule to go with.
Yeah. I think, look, throwing it out there, not to give too much away for when we start drafting, but when one of us picks an attraction, the other one's going to pick the other one. I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. But having to mix everything else in there is the only way you can get a full experience at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I mean, you know, the basis for this is if you haven't been there before, what are you going to recommend somebody do? What 5 things? You're not going to make them just buy merchandise everywhere. No, they need to go on a ride. They need to go eat something, and then they can experience something in retail and maybe add in a little entertainment.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to do in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and that is why we are, like Eric said, going to a galaxy far, far away. We are finding ourselves on Batuu, and we are ready to draft. But, Eric, we need to have a guest judge before we can start drafting.
We do have a guest judge, and she just happens to be... I'm not even going to go out on a limb. This is not going out on a limb. The biggest Star Wars fan I have ever met, and I could not think of anybody more appropriate to judge today's show. Dawn Perkins is here, the biggest Star Wars fan I know. Dawn, how are you?
I'm great, Bright Suns, guys.
Oh, bring in the lingo.
I love it. Nomenclature right out of the gate. Christian and I just talked a moment ago about the new season of The Mandalorian without any spoilers because I know you've seen it. How great was it?
It was awesome. It was, I mean, we waited several months for this, and it was well worth it. So
it was exactly what the world needed right now. We needed another season of The Mandalorian.
Exactly. Yes, we did.
So obviously we're going to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for today's episode. I'm fairly certain you've seen just about everything in that area.
And you know,
without giving away a strategy to either of us, why is it that you love Star Wars so much?
I've grown up with it. I mean, I'm aging myself, but I have grown up with it from the very beginning. And I mean, it's just the whole story, the characters, everything. There's so much to love about it.
Yeah, it's one of those places. Well, and I guess Galaxy's Edge is one of those places that it Cars Land was something that did such a great job of putting you in the movie, but Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is the Cars Land on steroids. Like, it literally takes you, and it not only puts you in that world, but it really immerses you in it. I remember my dad got to go to Batuu for the first time, and he said it was like you picked him up out of the theater when he was 10 years old and dropped him right in the movie. It's that kind of experience that this world has with Star Wars, and Dawn has that connection to it. Eric, I know you're a Star Wars guy. I'm a Star Wars guy. It is the greatest.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I stepped into the land myself. It was jaw-dropping. Of course, a lot of people know our backgrounds. Got to step in there without guests for the first time, so it seemed even bigger, with less people in there. So it really did take your breath away the first time. And then once it did open to the public and we got to go in there and mix in with everybody, I think just watching people's reaction to what they got to see made it even more special to me. Dawn, how about you? What about your first time when you stepped into the land?
My cast preview, I don't know if you guys remember this. It came like a thunderstorm. It was pouring down rain, thunder, and lightning. Of course, by the time we got into the land, everything kind of mellowed out. But I mean, I'll admit it, the tears started flowing as soon as I walked in because it was just overwhelming with everything. I mean, you literally step into a different planet. Yeah. So, yeah.
I still will never, and I don't think anyone will ever forget the moment they saw the Millennium Falcon. Like that, and you see, and you saw the commercials. You saw the aerial pictures that were being thrown by every single news outlet. But there was never a moment in my life like turning the corner and seeing the Millennium Falcon sitting right there. That was the coolest thing for me.
It was. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be, you think, okay, yeah, it's going to be a Millennium Falcon. I mean, it is the Millennium Falcon. It's huge. Yeah. So.
All right, Christian, you ready to do this?
I am ready to do this. Let's go over the rules first, though. Some special rules today for our Star Wars Galaxy's Edge episode of Drafting the Magic. Number one rule, as always, is that Eric and I must have experienced the experience that we choose. So it can't be something that we've just seen. I don't think there's much in the land we haven't gotten a chance to explore and look at, but if there is something that we haven't, we are not allowed to take it. But our big rule is that our episode rule of the day is that we need to choose things from food and beverage, retail or stores, and attractions. We got to give the love to the entire land, Eric.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this episode balanced. It's that rule right there, right? You have to pick an array of experiences. You can't just take one attraction and then all the food locations, or you take a food location, then all the places where I can buy cool stuff to take home. No, you gotta be diverse and you gotta be well rounded here if we want to win today, which I desperately need to because I'm sick and tired of losing.
Well, we will see if that continues. All right, Dawn, Eric, here we go. We are going to draft the magic, drafting Star Wars Galaxy's Edge experiences, either at Disneyland or Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's not much of a lie, or a secret, I guess. It's the exact same thing, so both coasts can enjoy this episode equally. And because this is Eric's host episode, I get to make the first choice, and it's not really much of a debate, not really hard to figure out. I am going with Star Wars, Rise of the Resistance, the greatest attraction Disney has ever created, at least technologically. It is something that if you've not been on the ride before, once you get on it, you don't know what's going to happen. The queue is unbelievably immersive, more than I could even tell you, because I don't want to break any secrets if somebody hasn't heard it, but you get on the ride, you see everything, it's all real, and it's not even a question. It's going to be the number one pick. Dawn, what do you think of Star Wars Rise of the Resistance?
It is not just an attraction, it is an entire experience. And the cast members that work on that attraction are amazing because they stay in character and they make it a real experience. You feel like you are in a Star Wars movie. Of course, it's sad because here at Disneyland, it was only open a couple of months before the park closed down. And so a lot of people haven't even got to experience it yet. So I don't want to give away any of the fun little tidbits inside of it. But definitely, I mean, it's a whole experience, not just an attraction.
Yeah, I think this was the easiest slam dunk first pick we've had in any of our 10 episodes so far. And I'm not saying that because I'm bitter. I'm saying that because it's just a fact. If Christian would not have picked this number one, it would have been probably worse than when he took Starbucks a few weeks ago.
All right, then. We had to bring that up again, really. No, but
love me a Starbucks, but for that one, it just wasn't going to happen. But for the attraction itself, you're right. This is one of the most amazing things they've ever built. It makes me excited for whatever the next thing is they're going to build, which is probably we're looking at Avengers Campus, right?
Yeah.
So when you set the bar that high, my goodness, how much higher can you go from this? That's what makes me most excited.
Well, and it's everything with the attraction. You know, obviously it's the ride system, and if you haven't been on it, it's the coolest thing in the world. But then you look at the animatronics on the attraction that are flawless, and they have ways of hiding it. If something's not working, you might see a completely different experience in that even little moment. That they thought of everything. They took some of everyone's favorite Disney rides, put them together. You know, there's different experiences of it. It's great. Again, like Eric said, it's a layup, slam dunk, the easiest choice, and Rise of the Resistance comes off the board first.
And it forces my hand at number one because there's no way I can let you have both attractions in the land. So I have to, with my number one pick, take Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. For me, of course, this was the one that opened first, so we got to see it at first. You get to pilot the Millennium Falcon yourself. And not only do you get to do that, but you could be a gunner. You could be an engineer. And, you know, circumstances surrounding the world right now with everything going on in the pandemic, when it does come back and it opens up, and there may be some distancing that has to occur when they're boarding the attraction, you might get a chance to experience something that I got to experience one time on complete accident. Was that if you're in the gunner position and there are nobody sitting behind you in the engineer position, you get to do both. And it makes the whole thing that much more exciting for me. So perhaps that could be a thing later on down the line. I don't know if that's a factor, if it was a glitch the one time I went on it, but I got to do both and it was great. But the fact that you get to do something different every time, and I think like you said with Rise of the Resistance, the experience is different every time. It may be even more different every time you go on Smuggler's Run because you control it. Your actions and whatever your family member or your friend next to you's actions are, or the complete stranger behind you. All I know is this. There was a lot of yelling the first 3 or 4 times I went on it, and it was just people yelling at each other, hey, you do this, shoot it there, go left, go up, go right. Oh, it almost drained you when you were done. You're, oh my goodness, we survived that. We got it done, and I racked up, this many credits. So for me, I love that attraction. I'm not going to lie, I would have loved to have Rise of the Resistance at number one, but I knew what I had to do. Millennium Falcon sure is one heck of a silver medal, and I'll take it.
Dawn, what do you think of Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run?
I'm sad because I have never got to pilot it. I always end up as gunner. So I'm really good at gunner, but yes, I've been on it with my family, and it's I I really don't want to go on with anybody else because I tend to yell a lot. So I try to get them to, don't crash into anything, watch out. But it's also a fun experience. And hopefully one of these days, once we get opened back up, I can actually experience pilot. I want to do that hyperdrive.
I describe it as when that happens, when that moment where you're supposed to pull the hyperdrive, that's the moment you were waiting for since you were born. Like it just comes over you, and it is amazing. But the ride changes, and Eric kind of spoke to it. We got on the ride one time, and there was only one engineer. So for those of you who haven't been on the ride, there's a pilot, a gunner, and an engineer. And as soon as we started, Hondo, who is your host, as it were, but the guy who's talking through it goes, "Oh, only one engineer. We'll see how this goes." So the ride is actually designed to accept how many riders are in the actual attraction. So I think it's a great pick, Eric. And yeah, you're right. You did need to take it as your number one pick because we didn't say you had to take certain things by certain rounds. You're right. You needed to take that as your pick.
Yep, I wasn't gonna mess that one up.
Well, I think an attractions-filled first round was very, very successful. And now we go to round 2. And in round 2, I've got a number of options that I could go with. I think Rise of the Resistance is easily my number 1. But beyond that, I think I love the land equally. I love the different things you can do. So this is more of a strategy pick against Eric than it is I've got to say this is better than another thing because the area is amazing. But there was not alcohol sales in the Disneyland park until I could go to Oga's Cantina. And Oga's Cantina is going to be my number 2 pick. That is one of the most immersive parts of the land because when you go in there, you do feel like you're in a Star Wars cantina-like pub. It's absolutely amazing. I would say I'd love there to be more food options on the menu. I want there to be food at Oga's, but I will settle for what's there. Oga's Cantina is my number 2 pick. Dawn, I know you've been over to Oga's, right?
Of course. I've been over there to have a fuzzy tauntaun or two. So. But yeah, I love DJ Rex. I mean, how can you not love that? And, if he breaks down, they bang on a few things and he sparks right back up. So it's a lot of fun. I got to go with my kids, my older kids. I took them. And of course, everybody, I think we had a Jedi mind trick, a fuzzy tauntaun, So everybody was feeling pretty good when we left out of there. But yeah, it's a lot of fun inside there. The only thing I wish is, like you said, more food options. I think we had, the Batuu bits, which were interesting. and I would like it better if there was a little bit more seating too. But we just stood at the bar, had fun. So.
Well, and I will say you mentioned DJ Rex. There is a moment in DJ Rex's little kind of skit that he does where he has some flashbacks to moments when he was driving a vehicle somewhere else in Disneyland, and it is my favorite moment to hear him kind of glitch out and do that. Eric, what do you think of Oga's?
Well, I had to deal with Captain Rex in the very early part of my Disney career over and over and over again, multiple times per day. I love Oga's Cantina. Again, like Don mentioned, the fuzzy tauntaun, that was the go-to. Makes your mouth feel real weird. But it's being able to step inside of the cantina. It's not exactly what you saw in the original film, but you got that you got that aura, you got that ambiance, and you were, much like when you say you step into the land, it's like stepping into the movie. Into the cantina maybe made you feel even more so because you were actually in this place that you saw when you were little. So I love Oga's Cantina. It was my number 2 pick, and it's off the board. Now I have to adjust on the fly. I told you there was going to be adjustments.
Oh, sorry, bud. I'm not actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to my number 2. This one was my number 3 on the board after the other two. So I'm glad I'm still going to be able to take it. It is a drink, right? So I'm going a little bit more specific. You took the Cantina. I'm taking the milk stand at number 2 here. I think the single most anticipated food and beverage item when this land opened was the blue milk. We saw it in the movies. Everybody wanted to know what it tasted like. Being somebody who was at the resort and during testing phases of everything, got to test a few different versions of it. And I think the final version they landed on was an absolute home run. They knocked it out of the park. It's very smooth. It has that milk consistency, and they duplicated something that you never thought you'd ever get to taste in your life. They have the green milk option as well. I'm team blue milk. We can get that hashtag trending whenever you're ready, team blue milk. I'm taking the milk stand at number 2 in Galaxy's Edge experiences.
That's one of the things I was really anticipating too, was the whole blue milk. I couldn't wait to try that. And I am team blue milk as well.
Oh, thank goodness.
So the green milk it's good. It's not, awful, but, definitely team blue milk. But that was fun because you go back to A New Hope and, Luke drinking his blue milk. So, that is part of the whole experience. And I think that's such a great idea that they did incorporate that into the land.
I will once again make the internet extremely angry.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
I hate both of them. So I can't stand, honestly, it's that fruity, it's just not my style. It was cool. I did get to go to Batuu in Hollywood Studios, and there are some different versions of the blue milk there because you can walk around with certain drinks at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So that was an interesting look. But it's just not my thing. I am one of the guys that goes and gets a beer at Oga's, not necessarily a mixed drink. It's just not my style, but I can respect the blue milk choice because it is one of the most iconic things from that entire franchise was this concept of blue milk. Everybody's like, okay, well, blue milk. Now it's the most popular thing on Twitter. So
I'm quickly learning that we need to do as many food episodes as possible because you are botching every single one of them, and it's working into my favor.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You are the pickiest eater I've ever met. I don't understand it.
I am not.
You are. You can tell I'm stunned and that we've never talked about it before because I think my sickness just went away. I'm starting to feel better because I'm getting amped up over this.
You're welcome. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you is more, I guess, of what I'm saying in a roundabout way. All right, go ahead. You got picked.
Yeah, so let's go to round 3, and let's not let Dawn voice her opinion on me not liking blue milk. We'll let that go to the judging portion, I guess. So round 3, again, this is a tough call for me, but I am going to go with another food option. And I've got to go to Ronto Roasters because Ronto Roasters is amazing. And I will say this. We said this on the Disneyland Snacks episode when we didn't choose it. And Brady McDonald gave us heck for it, as I guess we were very much deserving of. But I like the breakfast version of the Ronto Roaster wrap a little bit even more than the regular version. But either way, it's good. It is weird looking, so that is what makes it so. It's one of those where if I was walking around Tatooine, I would see somebody eating that. It was that kind of thought when I first saw it and was eating it, and so I've got to go Ronto Roasters as my number 3 pick.
Ronto Roasters is awesome. I absolutely love them. And like you said, the breakfast one is really good. Probably better than the regular. But if you get it with that extra peppercorn sauce, oh my gosh, it's so good. Everybody keeps, make them at home, make them at home. No, I don't think you can ever top what they have there. They're so good. So we definitely, it's one of our go-tos every time we go. So
I think you bring up a good point about duplicating things and trying to make them at home. It's just not the same. There's a touch in there that just, you're never going to find a way to duplicate it. I love Ronto Roasters. I affectionately refer to it as the hot dog taco. I I love every bit about it. The more meat you can cram into anything, I'm down for. So I love Ronto Roasters. I think it's a good pick, and it was my number 4. So now I have to adjust yet again. All right. What am I going to do now? I'm going to look at this list. My next pick was going to be food related anyway, by the way, because that's what I had. So I'm going to go with Docking Bay 7 as my number 3 pick. I do like the fact that they started to switch out some items. Not that some were not good, but just the fact that, hey, remember that thing you had last week? Well, we replaced it. Come get something else. And it's been a rotating menu. There's a lot of things in there that are the same, but the fact that they're changing things up here and there, I'm a big fan of the shrimp salad. I think I'm a big seafood guy, and much like I enjoy Ronto Roasters, I enjoy seafood just as much, if not more. I thought that was great. The ribs also. I think, I don't know what they put in that barbecue sauce. They probably don't refer to it as that, but whatever that is, put that on everything in my life. I don't care. Put it on pizza. Put it on spaghetti. Yeah, I said it. It's amazing. I love it. So I'm gonna take Docking Bay 7 as my number 3 pick.
Docking Bay 7 is good. I don't know about, well, I mean, there is more choices there. So that's the good point. I mean, but yeah, the Ronto is still my go-to.
Yes, I love it. I love it when the judge is still talking about my pick after Eric makes a pick. That feels good. I will say that both Ronto Roasters and Docking Bay 7, since this is our round 3 picks, both do a great job at theming, right? Ronto Roasters, there is a robot, we used it in the topic tease, spinning the meat over under a pod, like a pod racing engine or whatever it is. That was the coolest thing. But you go over to Docking Bay 7, it is very well themed. Like, and the seats are not conventional. I'll say that, nor are they comfortable. But they are. It's different. It's just a different feel. I loved it. And so I think both of those options are, it's not Oga's Cantina, right? It's not what everybody's racing to go and do and, trying to get a reservation for, but there's still some good options there. So I like both of those picks. Yeah.
All right, Christian, let's go ahead. We'll move on to round 4.
Let's do it. Round 4. And I think it's time to get some merchandise in the conversation. I think that one of the most unique merchandise locations where you can not only spend a huge chunk of money, but also still just find some other cool things is the Droid Factory. It is the coolest thing, just seeing the rotating droid conveyor belt above your head. Meanwhile, you got people making droids down on the ground. I love that location. I think that I'll never buy a $25,000 R2-D2, but I like that the option's there. I like that I have the option. So that's just a great piece. I love it. Gotta go Droid Factory is my number 4 pick.
The Droid Factory is fun. Definitely fun. I didn't actually make a droid. My daughter did, but I was with her. So the whole picking out your little parts and if you're going to, what kind of droid you're going to make. And I have to actually point out something. You're talking about the rotating droid parts above. Do you know that's a little Easter egg?
Oh.
Yes, it is kind of an homage to George Lucas. If you count the numbers, there's like different batches. There's a 1, 1, 3, and then 8, and it's continuous. And it's actually a homage to George Lucas and his first movie that he made, THX 1138. So
wow,
that's a little Easter egg in there.
I had no idea, but that's awesome. I can't promise you I'm going to go and count, but I like knowing that it's there. Eric, what do you think of the Droid Factory? Have you bought a $25,000 R2-D2 yet?
Boy, if I had a nickel for every time I did that, I'd be very much in the negative.
Yep.
No, I haven't. I have not bought a very expensive droid. I love the concept in that area, though. Just like Don said, you get to pick your parts and kind of customize it, make it your own. Who doesn't want to bring home some version of R2-D2, right? Be able to control it themselves. I also did know about the THX 1138 homage, because they actually have it in Star Tours as well, and I spent quite a bit of time over there, as I mentioned before. So they love to do that for George because, hey, let's be honest, if it weren't for him, we'd have none of this. So
Exactly.
I do like the Droid Depot, though. I like that pick there, number 4.
Why, thank you.
Now I'm going to go also with a retail location. And for me, I think this retail location is the place for the real hardcore Star Wars lovers, the ones who they can find those little trinkets that they remember from the movies that you would mention to any casual fan and be like, what on earth, or I guess not on earth, are you talking about? I'm going to Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. The animatronic in there is impressive in itself behind the cage, and he's back there wheeling and dealing, right? But all the little, you can buy the crystals in there, the kyber crystals are in there, I think, and that's where that famous gift card, the one that was made out of metal, that everybody was trying to get their hands on, right? That's where that debuted, and people they're gone now, of course. Go figure. Everybody wanted to get their hands on it, but the items that are deep into Star Wars lore are in there, and that's where you really get a sense of the actual galaxy in itself, rather than just something that says Star Wars on it, right? It's an actual item that you could find off planet. So I'm taking Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities at number 4.
I love Doc's because, like you said, there's a little bit of everything for that diehard Star Wars fans. You have like your holocrons. So if you can't afford the $200, Savi's lightsaber, you can still use those kyber crystals and the holocrons. Of course, there are some more expensive things in Doc's too. You've got your legacy sabers. So I love everything in there. And of course, inside there, a ton of Easter eggs too. So I just like to go in there to check things out and see what I missed. In fact, there's a helmet on the wall in there that might be kind of familiar to Mandalorian fans. So I wonder why it's in there. So
yeah.
And now every time Dawn recaps a pick that we made, it makes me more and more confident we picked the right person for today's show.
Well, yeah, I'll say this: you will not have the general public knowing what's in Doc Ondar's, right? But Dawn knows. Like, come on, like
she knows. And if you want to know, you can just ask her.
Exactly. And I love the pick. I think it's a very cool shop. It's hidden, right? So if you go up that little staircase and turn left, you're gonna find it over there, or whichever way you're going to it from. But you walk in there and it just wraps around you, and it's not all that large, right? It is a very intimate store as opposed to like a World of Disney, which they definitely could have put in Galaxy's Edge, by the way, and it would be flooded all day. But that's not Star Wars, though. Star Wars is that intimate, we're doing deals under, kind of under the rug, where I think it's a really cool location, and I will give you a little gold star for your amazing round 4 pick. Very good pick. And so that leads us to the final round. Round 5 of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge experiences. And I don't think I could take anything besides this. It was the coolest thing I had ever done there. And the reason it waited until right now is because I knew Erik hadn't done it, because he totally played his cards against me a couple weeks ago and told me this. Savi's Workshop, where you can build your own lightsaber, is the coolest, most in-depth Star Wars experience where you get the opportunity to actually build it, right? And it's not just you can go over to Star Trader and build your own lightsaber, right? You take the pieces of plastic, fit it together. This is not that. It is an experience. The hosts are absolutely phenomenal at what they do, and there's never going to be a moment quite like when I remember everyone turning their lightsaber on in the room. The room just all of a sudden started glowing. Savi's Workshop, if you can somehow flip the bill, is worth the price of admission. And then you have a really cool stick that lights up when you take it home. So that's really cool. I'll be honest, I liked it more for the experience than even the lightsaber itself. It just was perfect Disney presentation, and that's why it is on my list as number 5.
Savi's workshop. I haven't been there, but I have. Yes, I have not been there yet. Of course, I've watched a ton of YouTubers that I follow that have built their sabers. And when you see grown men turn into little kids or people that cheer up, it really is a whole emotional experience for that Star Wars fan. And like you said, the gatherers there that, are helping you construct your lightsaber and giving you the story behind everything. I mean, it's a really awesome experience, and I want to go do it so bad. So hopefully once things get opened up, maybe I'll have a little money saved up by then and I can go build my lightsaber.
I mean, when you're in there, they're like, okay, here's all the kyber crystal options, right? You've got the purple, and then the room lights up purple, and then you got the red, and then the room lights up red, and you hear Darth Vader's theme song. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Eric, I know you haven't been in there. What do you think of what you've seen, though?
It looks to me like one of the most unique experiences that you can come across in any theme park, really. I would love to go in there one day. I'm the same with Dawn. As soon as it opens back up and maybe I got a little something saved, I can go in there and check it out.
Amen.
I like the pick. I think you have a well-rounded group of selections. I need to play off the fact that Dawn hasn't been there yet. That could play to my advantage. Finally, somebody hasn't done something that you picked. How do you like it?
Awful.
All right, here we go. It's my number 5. And this one might throw you for a little bit of a loop. I didn't have a 5th pick. I intentionally left off a 5th pick because I wanted to leave it open-ended to see what you would do. We talked about removing yourself from a theme park and putting yourself in the land and in the experience. And I think another great way that can push that forward is by using the Disney Play app and getting on that data pad and going around the entire land and interacting your mobile device with, whether it's making a droid react, whether it's trying to read some of the ancient scriptures that are on the walls. I think it's great for the young ones who can go around and look, let's be honest. Even though you're in a galaxy far, far away, you're still here on planet Earth. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's on that thing, especially the young ones. How do you bring them into the experience and still let them do what they do? You put an app on their phone, and it brings them in with the family. And now everybody's involved. You get to have that family time and go around the land and experience things with your phone, so everybody gets the best of all the worlds. Even though this one is off planet. I'm taking the data pad on the Disney Play app at number 5 to round out my top 5 picks.
The data pad is awesome, and I really wondered if you guys would pick that, so I'm impressed.
Shoot.
And because I know a lot of people don't know about all the different little things you can do, because you can collect different weapons, and so it's a lot of fun to play with that. And I'm the annoying person that's trying to scan things in line, that's holding up the line. So yeah, my kids get on to me because they're going, Mom, you're holding things up. I'm like trying to get to scan. But yeah, the data pad, I was really surprised that I didn't know if you guys would bring that one up. I'm impressed.
I'll be honest, he started talking about it, and I was like, boom, I just won this episode. And then you reacted to it. And now I'm like, boom, Eric just won this episode. So that's fun.
I had to throw a curveball. I had to pull something out because you had the advantage with that first pick. So
yeah, you
I'm
did.
glad, at least in the moment, that it looks like it's working out.
Oh, I
have to wait for the official judgment.
Hate it. But that is our draft. So before we review our lists, Dawn, is there anything we left off that you think deserved a spot?
I think you guys did really, really good. I mean, like I said, I figured nobody will pick the data pad, and so I'm really impressed that Eric did that. But no, I think you guys have really covered a lot of, what's there and what the best things are of the land.
I'll be very honest. Besides, like, an encounter with Kylo Ren, really, we kind of just left off some of those small stores. There's really not much beyond the 10 things that we did select, but I'm glad to know that you think that Eric and I made the right 10 picks. Eric, go ahead. Let's review our list for Dawn before she makes the judgment.
All right, here we go. My top 5 picks. I've got Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, The Milk Stand, Docking Bay 7, Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities, and the Data Pad on the Disney Play app. And for Christian, number 1, he got Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, Oga's Cantina, Ronto Roasters, The Droid Depot, and Savi's Workshop. There's your top 5 from both of us. Dawn, take it away. Who won this episode of Drafting the Magic?
Okay, guys, you both had great things. Lots of things that I love on both lists, but I'm going to have to go with Christian.
Yes!
Probably 2 of my favorite things, Rise of the Resistance and that Ronto rap.
I'm glad it's the Ronto rap that won that. I like that. Oh my goodness.
I knew that was going to happen, especially with you getting the first pick. It really came down to who was going to get Rise and which food does the judge prefer.
I'm so sorry, Eric. Yeah, but
it's a trend now.
But the data pad, I'm impressed. So because I thought I'm like the only person that really enjoys the data pad.
The first time I broke it out and started using it, I got to be honest, my first thought was, all right, what is this thing gonna do? And then next thing you know, I'm playing around with it for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
oh, this thing actually is kind of cool.
It is something that is very unique, and if you go on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, there you're earning credits on the ride. That's that kind of stuff. It's amazing, but it's no Ronto Roasters, so I'll take that. And I will take the win. That is 4 wins in a row. This is awesome. This is great. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for joining us. I think Eric was correct in that I could not think of somebody more Star Wars than you. I have seen your posts about all the Baby Yoda stuff you have and all that kind of stuff. So the Star Wars fan was picked correctly.
Well, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was hard to pick because there's so many fun things and you both had things that, what do I not love about the land? That's the problem. I don't think there's anything I don't like.
Yeah, it's just what you like more than the other. So
yes.
I can't be upset about that. Dawn, thanks so much for your time and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, till the spire, guys.
Oh, more nomenclature on the way out. Thanks, Dawn. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Well, as surely as the sun rises in the east, it's another L for good old EP over here.
Yes.
What else is new? I got to be honest. I talked about it. I knew I really had no chance at this. First pick was gonna take this. It was just a matter of you not dropping the ball, and congratulations, you held on to it. And you didn't let it go. You could have fumbled at the 1, but you carried it all the way into the end zone. Good job, pal.
Well, thank you. Honestly, the entire land is amazing, right? Like, you go into that land and you're transported into a different world. And it doesn't matter which experience you're doing. Each experience is designed to be something that you've never done before. Whether it's building a droid. I'll tell you right now, a droid ain't a Build-A-Bear, all right? You are creating this little droid that can actually move around. It can communicate with other droids. We don't know what they're saying. They may be talking about how they're going to take over the world. I don't know, but it just the entire land is amazing, and it deserved a show. And I'm so glad you picked the topic because that meant I got to choose first. So.
Yeah, now it's time to regroup for a 4th consecutive time and figure out what I'm going to do with number 1 for your next topic, which I'm not sure has been set in stone yet, but if it has, maybe you'll tease it, and then maybe I can get to work now because I'm not going to stop researching until we record our next show.
Well, hey, I'll let you in on a little bit of work then, because I'll tease it a little bit. We are going back to solely Walt Disney World, and we will not be going into the theme parks. So I'll leave it at that. We will not give you any more hope or aspirations to succeed. I'll just give you that note, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do from there.
I've already halfway done booked my reservation to go to Disney World while you said we're going back to Disney World. So
See?
I'm just going to go out there for a vacation for a week. I'm going to experience everything I can and then come back and hopefully ground you into the turf next week. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. Otherwise, 5 in a row, that's tough, man. That's tough.
Yeah, so was 2 in a row, but apparently not tough for you.
Yeah, made it 4 in a row. I'm loving it. I am through the roof. We are 10 shows in, Eric. This was number 10.
Hey, we made it. We got renewed for another week. How about that? We made it all the way to the decade mark. Not in years, but in shows.
Yes, and a big thank you to anybody listening, especially if you're listening regularly. It means a ton to us. Make sure you head over to Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow us on all those. It's either Drafting the Magic or Drafting Magic, depending on if you're going on Twitter or not. Twitter has @DraftingMagic because there's only so many characters you're allowed to put into your name. So, but everything else is @Drafting the Magic. We do fun polls, and we want to know what you're thinking. Answer questions. You get to see our topic teases for each week. It's a lot of fun. And then, of course, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening. We hope you are enjoying this as much as we are, because as much as losing streaks hurt, because I've been there too, this is a lot of fun for Eric and I. I think I can speak for you on that one, EP.
Yeah, you can. And real quick before we get off this episode, just big shout out to Christian. Usually we record this together in the same room, socially distant, of course. This time, me being under the weather, he's had to deal with everything.
We gonna be socially distant with you under the weather, brother.
Yeah, back at his home studio taking care of this. So thanks, Christian, for handling all of it, and hopefully I'll be feeling better, and we'll be back together again real soon.
Hey, it's been a pleasure again on a day where a lot of people needed a pick-me-up. I think this was a good way of doing so, is fighting over Disney experiences. This one was, of course, over Star Wars Galaxy's Edge experiences, but you can go to listen to all of our other 9 episodes that are currently on the list. We fight it out every single week, and we will see you next week when we, again, go to Walt Disney World, but not quite in the theme parks.
I'm coming for you.
We'll see.